Hello. We have all had a week or so to work with Anime Studio Debut, and at this point in time you've learned how to use some of the basic drawing tools, and you've experienced practicing those using the animal head figures we started with. You've also had a chance to learn how to create some simple movement and animate objects on the screen in Anime Studio Debut, and we learned how to use layers, and we've learned how to move things around by practicing with our Rube Goldberg machine. The next step is to add one level of complexity to your animation, and what I'm going to be asking you to do is to create a simple dinosaur, kind of like the one you have on the screen. And this dinosaur character is going to run across the screen, so we've learned how to move an object, but we're also going to have his legs and head move as he runs across the screen. And we're going to simulate some basic movement. So what I'm going to do first off is show you what I've created here. I'm going to turn all these layers off and show you what I've done step by step. So I started with a simple background. I have also created a body for my dinosaur because that's going to be the key center component of my figure. I have a back leg, which is going to move independently of the body, hence it's on its own layer. I have a front leg, which is going to move independently of the body, and I also have a head, which is also going to move as the character runs across the screen. So now that I have all of these layers in place and my character created, I am going to add a new layer. And this time I'm going to go down to the third option and choose a bone layer. So the bone layer opens up here, and I'm going to give him a name. So I'm going to call my dinosaur Dennis. And all of the components that I want to move with Dennis are going to be dragged into the bone layer. So I can drag them one at a time, as you see me doing here, or I can hold down Shift and select multiple layers at the same time and drop them into Dennis. So now you'll see indented under Dennis I have the head, front leg, body, and back leg, and the background is not part of this layer. It's on its own layer. I'm not going to animate the background with the character. So I now have these layers inside my bone layer, and if you notice over here, if I click on my bone layer, I get some bone tools. So the first thing I want to do is add some bones to my character. So I'm going to click on Add Bones, and the first one I'm going to draw is going to be the center bone in the body, and I'm going to draw it from the bottom up. I'm going to move to the head layer. You know what, I don't need to change layers. I'm going to stay on that main layer and just keep adding bones at this point. So I'm going to draw another one where the head's going to be. And the positioning of these bones isn't super important. If I do want that bone to articulate around this area, drawing the bone somewhere along there will work just fine. So I've now added 4 bones, one for the head, one for the body, one for the back leg, and one for the front leg. Now what I need to do with these bones is make sure they are attached in the proper sequence. If I don't draw them in the proper order, you'll see when I click on the Reparent Bone button, you'll see that they're all attached to different things. For example, this leg will move dependent on the head, which is not at all what I want. So I want to select a bone, I want to reparent that bone, and I'm simply going to drag from the leg to the body. That's where I want it. And I will do the same thing with the front leg, select it, choose the reparent option, and then drag to the bone I want it to be attached to. So both legs are now attached to the body, and the head is attached to the body. So I'm in good shape. Now each bone comes with an area of influence, and we want to reduce that for what it is we are doing for this example. So if I click on this button right here, and this button is called Bone Strength, you'll see there's a fuzzy area around each bone. I want to go to each bone and simply click and drag my mouse to the left, and what I'm doing is reducing the area of influence with that bone. Now this technique isn't needed for the sample we're going to use. There are times when having that bone influence the animated area around it is useful, but we're going to use a different technique, and we are going to attach bones to different layers. Because we have been using this basic philosophy all along, anything you want to animate by itself, you'll make sure is attached to a different layer. So what we are now going to do is go back and we're going to choose